everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode on Blitz Sports. This is going to be a big episode. I'm talking Yankees-Mets offseason plans. This video and episode's going to get a little intense. I think there are moves the Yankees have to make, they should take into consideration. I know a lot of people are saying Cody Bellinger's coming to the Bronx, Ohtani. No. They don't need it. And I'll get more into that later. So, I'm sure as you know by the title, talking Yanks, Mets, and listen, both teams suck this year, flat out, below expectations. You expect a lot better from them, and really just disappointed in both teams. You know, both aspects of the game, you just disappointed with basically how they performed this season. And I think that was kind of explained when Buck Showalter got the boot, and I'm happy Boone stays. And I know a lot of people are like, what, you're crazy, Boone was terrible, shouldn't be their manager anymore. I disagree. Boone's a great manager with a terrible roster. If you want me to tell you a guy who should be fired and who should their general manager be, the guy should be fired is Brian Cashman. And the general manager should be Derek Jeter. Because what's one thing he does very good with? Spending his money. That is why I'm thinking that Cashman should be fired. What has he done? We've given him so much time. We have money, time. We have it all. He's done crap. The biggest thing he's done with the Yankees is signing Tanaka out of Japan and re-signing Aaron Judge. And Judge didn't even want to go to the Yankees. What did he do? He has a bad relationship with their former captain, number 2, Derek Jeter, Yankee legend. I mean, how could you have that type of energy around the Yankees? Derek Jeter loves everybody. But you don't like your general manager? Things got to change. Because why is somebody going to want to play for Cashman? Why? Honestly, if I had the choice, I would say no. I'd say I'm not playing for Brian Cashman. I'm not. Because I don't think the team's going to get better at all. I think it's going to be, I'm the center of this team, but nobody is going to be around me. And I think that was kind of the storyline for Judge this year. Judge and Cole. Two centerpieces of this organization. They had Rodon. They had Rizzo. They had even Bader, you could say. Even, I love Cortez, but even Cortez. You had these guys around them. These were guys they built around. Torres. That stuff. But those guys just did nothing. And it really, as much as it really showed how good of a season Cole really had, even though the Yankees were really bad, still, just not great. You know, a team's not about those two guys you have at the top of your roster. It's about the guys, honestly, what I find a good roster. MLB show, I can go 10 guys down, yet still see solid talent. And to be honest, not what the Yankees had. Not at all what the Yankees have. They don't have 10 guys and then at least a decent roster. They have these 10 guys making these boatloads of money, but those 10 guys aren't even that good. So things really got to change. And there's a lot of guys the Yankees are honestly just going to have to move on from. It's a killer. It's an absolute killer. There are just some guys they have to move on from if they want to take this big step. And the big step is making the playoffs, but also winning the World Series. Because it's been too long. They have the roster, or at least they have the money to build the roster. So why not? Why am I not buying a Yankee 2023 replica ring? Sorry, not wing, ring. Why? I should be watching October baseball right now. Not just hearing about Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Marcus Semien, Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, Jose Altuve. I shouldn't have to hear their names. I should be hearing Aaron Judge goes deep. Derek Cole strikes out 11. Why? Why am I not hearing that? I don't understand. I wouldn't even be mad if I saw a postseason roster for the wild card and the ALDS, and that's it. But I didn't see a wild card roster. You're telling me the Baltimore Orioles, who, don't get me wrong, had an amazing season, the Diamondbacks are in the playoffs. The Marlins were in the playoffs. How? Just how? Orioles' payroll is, I don't even think their payroll is bigger than Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole's contract combined. That's terrible. The fact that they won 100 games with one of the lowest payrolls in the MLB, it's pretty sad. And it's a real killer for the organization, and that's why I think the Yankees are going to have to learn how to take this next step. So, who are some guys they're going to have to move on from? Luis Severino, you've had your chances, but to be honest, we haven't seen you fulfill those chances because the biggest way you're getting your name in the paper is when you're going on the IL 10, strained hamstring, all this crap. It's every freaking year. It's every year. When? When can he stay healthy? But to be honest, the Yankees, they just don't have the time to figure out the question, when. To be honest, the Yankees don't have the talent to figure out the question, when. He's 4-8 this year, 6.65 ERA. Teams were batting a 3.01 against him. That is terrible for the amount of innings he pitched this season. That is just terrible. 5.5 home run percentage is terrible. It is not good at all. You're telling me guys have almost a 6% chance to hit a home run against him? Is terrible. Is absolutely terrible. And a negative 1.6 win probability. That means he's expected to lose 2 games before he wins 1, basically. That is terrible. That is terrible. Just not great. He didn't even have a chance going into a game. The Yankees even had to try to put him in the second inning so he wouldn't give up that first inning 406 moonshot. Just freaking absurd. Frankie Montas, listen. Thought it was a good deal. We got rid of Waldichuk. He's done nothing in the A's organization like everybody else. Spears, I like Spears a lot. Sears, not Spears. But 1-3 last year, and this is with his term with the Yankees. 6.35 ERA, 288 batting average against, 3.2 home run percentage chance, just not great, and a 1 win probability, not great either. Just really not that good. Kenyon Middleton, one of the 2 trade deadline accusations. Well, he's got to go. In 12 games with the Yankees, 1.88 ERA, 143 batting average against, 1.8 home run percentage, and a .3 winning percentage. Listen, I wouldn't be terribly upset if the Yankees re-sign him, but I just think there are better options out there than Middleton. I think they need a guy who they can rely on to stay healthy and on the field. IKF. I love IKF. I love the way he works. I love the energy he brings into the clubhouse. I think he's a phenomenal player, phenomenal guy. But to be honest, the Yankees just don't need him. They just don't need him. Not with Dominguez, not with Pereira, not with a lot of these guys. He's just not needed, and I think he can find a better spot somewhere else. Batted at .242 this year. 646 OPS, 19.4 strikeout percentage, not great, but in this day and age of baseball, kind of what's expected, and a .1 WAR. So, Falefa, he had a tough beginning of the year, got better towards the middle, and in the end, just never played. The Yankees just don't need him. He knows the Yankees just don't need him. But it was fun watching IKF play. Was it worth it for getting rid of Sanchez and Urshela and receiving Donaldson? Probably not. I would say probably not. just a little disappointing. That's all. Just a little disappointing. So now let's look at the Mets. Some of their free agents. And believe it or not, the only big free agent that I know of is Carlos Carrasco. 3-8 this year, 6.80 ERA, 3.10 batting average against, 4.3 home run percentage, and a negative 2.2 win percentage. That is horrible. That is bad. It's over. Listen, I loved his story overcoming cancer and all that. He's going to retire. Just nobody's going to pick him up. I mean, if you did this bad, chances are nobody's going to pick you up. And honestly, he's one of the big reasons why Billy Epler resigned, is because I highly believe he was illegally put on the injured list. And that is why Billy Epler stepped down as the general manager. Because of that ongoing investigation, just not great. Not great at all. So now, let's stick with the Mets. Listen, this team was just flat out terrible. Terrible. This season, the fans, the organization, expected a lot more than what they kind of got. The answers, the results they got. But I do think, bottom down, the Mets do have a decent roster. I think they have a good roster. I think it's a bit old. I don't think there's much they can generally fix. And that is partially why I do believe the Mets will not do much this offseason. I think they'll make a few little signings, but they're not going out Ohtani. They're not getting those guys. They're almost going to play scared money. They're going to be too scared to spend it. I think generally, and I don't disagree with them not making the big signing. I think they got to really figure out how bad this team really is, where they have to build, who they have to build with. And also, whenever you're in the market for a new manager, you never really want to get those next level players, the Ohtanis, that stuff. You kind of want to see how the players like the manager, like the way, how the manager wants to run the organization a little bit. So, new general manager. I know he was hired as baseball operations president, whatever. He'll be their GM. He'll take that role on as well. The Mets, they have a lot of guys down on the farm. And I think next year's also going to be what they're testing out, who they have on the farm. Do they need to trade for prospects? It's just things like that. So they're not going to want to spend the large sums of money because, to be honest, it's just not worth it at this point. And like I said, the Mets are not getting Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani would like to go to a winning franchise. The Mets, they have proved nothing that they are a winning franchise. He will stay in the West Coast, and he's going to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Mark my words. Trading. They are going to have to trade Pete Alonso. .217 batting average, 8.21 WAR, 23 strikeout percentage, and a 3.2 WAR, and a lot of home runs. Listen, Alonso doesn't want to play for them anymore. The Mets don't want Alonso to play for them. Alonso was known as the man with poison in the locker room. He is a guy, when you are so good, you have to be the guy that steps up when things get tough. You can't be part of the problem when things get tough. You have to be a leader. If you want to make the money, if you want to be known as the best player on the team, you got to step up your game and be a freaking leader, not be the guy poison in the locker room. Because from what it sounded like, they lost. He'd kind of just sit in his corner, not really talk much, not really do a lot with the guys. It really just seemed like he knew he was better than everybody else. He just knew it, and he didn't want to work. He didn't want to act good in the locker room. He was just full of himself, plain full of himself. So the Mets are going to trade him. They're going to get a bunch of prospects. It's rumored the Cubs are really interested in Big Meat Pete, Polar Bear, and we could see a Pete Crow Armstrong return to the Mets, which would not be terrible. I think he could do well in that organization. See if it was really good or what the Mets missed out on. Position of needs for the New York Yankees. Starting pitcher, left fielder, relief pitcher, center fielder. Plain and simple. Left field, that gap needs to be filled, and it needs to be filled now. I don't know what the Yankees are waiting for. They need to fill that gap because that gap has been going on way too long. Cashman, if he wants a job, he's got to fill that position because every year he says we're getting a new left fielder. We're finding our guy. Pereira is just not it. Dominguez, he'll be out for most of the year. I don't like it. I don't like it. They just need they don't need the big name starting pitcher, but they do need a guy who is a big name starting pitcher. But they need another guy underneath him. Just a nice little 4 guy, almost like what Sevy, stuff like that is. And the guy, I'm going to save the big guy for last. They need to bring Jordan Montgomery back in pinstripes. Montgomery wants to come back. I think the Yankees would love to have Montgomery come back. I think things might be a little salty at first, but I do think Montgomery might end up, if the Yankees really go in for him, I think Montgomery will end up back in a Yankee uniform. And I was reading 62. It is a very good book. If you're a Yankee fan, I highly recommend you getting it because you really see a lot of inside information. And one of the things he said is pinstripes are heavy. You know, every outing, you're either going to be getting a standing O off coming that mound, or you're going to get booed. You're going to get booed until they see you go into the locker room. And to be honest, I'm a little disappointed in you Yankees fans because you're making guys scared, man. I know they got to grow up. You're making them scared, man. I agree. Pinstripes are heavy. But to be honest, if you're scared, you ain't got that dog in you. You are not ready to be on a postseason roster if you're scared to wear pinstripes. But I don't think he was scared. I think he just found it was heavy. It was just heavy. And sometimes a change is good, and it seems to be really working out in Texas right now. But I think both guys, Cashman and Monty, would like to meet with each other again, would like to have the pinstripes on. Cody Bellinger, listen, 307 batting average, 881 OPS, 15.7 strikeout percentage, and a 4.4 WAR. I want Cody Bellinger, but, is it worth it? With Spencer Jones, with other guys on the market, Ian Happ could be an option for left field, and you move Pereira to center. Also, Lars Nootbaar, 261 batting average, 784 OPS, 19.7 strikeout percentage, and a 3.3 WAR. I think he'd be a perfect option for the Yankees. I would like to see Nootbaar and Bellinger maybe be a potential fit for the Yankees. I don't think I want Bellinger as much as I want Nootbaar. And a lot of people might be thinking, dude, you're crazy. But I really liked what I saw from Dominguez, so I just don't know if it's worth it to have Cody Bellinger in a big deal. Listen, like Monty said, pinstripes are heavy. I think even the Dodgers uniform was a little too heavy for Bellinger. I think he fits in well with the Cubs. I think Bellinger could stay with the Cubs, but I would love to have Lars Nootbaar. I really would. But also, I'd love to have Ian Happ. 248 batting average, 791 OPS, 22.1 strikeout percentage, and a 2.9 WAR. Listen, I'd love to have all three of them. If I had to choose, I would say Ian Happ. I think he fits well with the Yankees. I think he has some qualities they need. and stuff like that. But the big man who's on the table, and I'll give you a little hint here. He is not currently on an MLB team. He is not currently an MLB free agent. You guessed it. Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yoshiba Yamamoto. 24-year-old pitcher out of Japan. 16-6 record. Listen, the hitting is garbage in Japan. Pitchers are golden in Japan. Don't worry about the record as much as these stats. ERA, a 1.21 ERA. Holy crap. It's gold. It's gold sitting on the table. You don't see that. And I think he'd be perfect for the New York Yankees. Cashman watched a no-hitter. To be honest, there's no reason for the Yankees not to go after this guy. Why not? They sure did well with Masahiro Tanaka. I'd love to have Yamamoto. I think he'd be a perfect fit for the New York Yankees. I would love to have this guy in pinstripes. And I think this is the move the Yankees need to make to take that huge step, that huge ALCS qualifiers to the World Series winners. That's the step. He will be probably that guy that skips 3 steps. And I'm talking make the playoffs, win the wild card, win the divisional round, win the ALCS. That is the guy that will be able to get you through those steps. So if the Yankees want to take the next step, because apparently it's right in front of them, even though we clearly saw the only things in front of them were the Rays, Blue Jays, and Orioles. That's what was in front of them. It wasn't a championship. It wasn't a title. It was none of that. I wish I had a water bottle that was flying up. Like I said, apparently it's right in front of us. The only thing in front of us are those 3 teams I named. Pretty embarrassing, right? Who would have thought this Yankee team would be 3rd, 4th. See, I don't even know what 4th place sounds like at this point. Terrible. It's very disappointing. And which is why you have to trade Gleyber Torres. Listen, this guy's too lazy for us, man. We're at the point, this team is not very good anymore. Guys like Gleyber, we just can't have. He had a good year. So now you have to trade him when he's at his peak value. And right now is his peak value. Because he's just too lazy for the Yankees right now. I don't think he's a guy that'll bust his butt all offseason to try to help the Yankees get to that next step. I mean, I personally saw it when he was playing for Venezuela, and he was horrible. And I think him growing a beard while playing with Venezuela is all we needed to see there. To be honest, I think it just showed he was kind of lazy. He didn't want to shave his beard. I find any Yankee that goes out and gets a beard after being a Yankee, and he was still technically a Yankee, I mean, still is, gets a beard right away? Pretty lazy to me. Pretty lazy. Because guys look a lot cleaner without the beards. And I love that rule about the Yankees, no beards, no long hair. I love it. Are you going to miss out on a few players here and there? Yes, absolutely. Do I care? No. Play on a ball field, you look professional. That's all I gotta say. Giancarlo Stanton. Man, he's a guy you're just gonna have to throw him to Gleyber. Honestly, you gotta get rid of that salary. It's just very disappointing. And I hope they also trade in that deal. I hope they bunch these 3 guys together. Estevan Florial. I love him. He's so good. But just not with the Yankees. He deserves to be somewhere else where he's actually used. correctly. Because I wish this is the guy who would make their opening day roster and be their center fielder for a little bit and obviously make some changes. All right. I know you Mets fans are probably getting a little bored, haven't really talked much about you guys, but here's your moment. Here's your spot. Manager candidates for the New York Mets. Gabe Kapler. I think he'd be a great manager for the Mets. I think he's good. He's a good manager, honestly. I was shocked the Giants fired him. I was shocked. I was a little disappointed, to be honest, they fired him. I expect a little bit better out of the Giants, but I think the Mets might have to pounce on him. Joe Espada, the Astros bench coach. They need a guy who is behind Dusty Baker. They need a guy who's had his insight. But the only problem is, if the Astros win the World Series, I think it's a very high chance Dusty Baker retires on a World Series win. And Joe Espada might fill the void of the manager, and he might take that spot. But I think it's a guy the Mets are going to have to interview, going to have to take into consideration throughout this process. But my number one candidate for the New York Mets manager position, he is a Brewers manager. People might be thinking, why would he leave the Brewers? He just doesn't want to return to them. They haven't agreed on a contract extension. He's going to look to go to a different team. Starts with a C. His first name ends with a G. Last name starts with a C, ends with an L. Craig Counsell. David Stearns is going to want his old manager back. Craig Counsell, Mets fans, will be your 2024 baseball manager. Mark my words. Craig Counsell will be the Mets manager. Perfect fit for the Mets. You get the brains. You get the guy that is able to work around not the greatest team. And you get some of his coaches along with that. So Craig Counsell will be your new Mets manager, Mets fans. So that's truly basically it. I think both teams are really... This is rock bottom. I'd say they're maybe here, just above rock bottom. I can't say anybody's hit the ground completely yet, but it's close. Another bad season like this for both teams, I could say they're very close to rock bottom. And both teams just should be so good, but they're not. I mean, is New York sports come to an end? I mean, this is just terrible at this point, man. Giants, Jets, ouch, ouch. Football and baseball are what New York fans took for a lot of pride this year. I'm pretty disappointed. So all I could say is go Knicks, go Isles, and would love to say go Giants, but that's not working. Go Irish. I mean, let's go Irish. But, yeah. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Blitz Sports with MJL24. Don't forget to subscribe. That's it. Thank you for listening to Blitz Sports.